Well, I'm Jonathan Worsley, and I'm delighted to have this FHS podcast with a very good friend of mine, Elie Milky, who's Vice President of Development for the Middle East, Cyprus, Greece, and Pakistan for the Radisson Hotel Group. Elie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, Jonathan.
Now, Elie, I think our listeners would be interested to learn a little bit more about you and what was your inspiration? What was your reason for joining the hospitality industry back in the day?
I think it goes back to the previous century, the previous millennium in 1998, when I gladly chose to go into hospitality, mainly because of travel and people, my love for travel, my love for people. And then I realized gradually I enjoyed more the corporate consulting, development, real estate and finance side of the industry. So after a couple of years of operations experience, my MBA studies and my consulting experience with HVS at the time, in London and Dubai, gradually went into development, the operator side. So I've been with Radisson Hotel Group since 2010. So it's been 14 years. And surprised myself. It's a great role, great company. Started leading the development in the region for the company maybe in 2013, 2014. And I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy signing amazing hotels, opening new hotels, creating thousands of job opportunities in different markets, penetrating new markets, raising the flag in some cities, just part of the story of development and changing the landscape of the hospitality industry in the region that I cover. So I currently cover a vast region, Middle East plus Pakistan in one basket, and then I've also got Cyprus and Greece and Europe to diversify, and different markets, different dynamics, and I just love the diversity of that.
And you're in some of the most exciting markets in the world in terms of growth at the moment. So which markets are you seeing at the moment that have the biggest growth? I mean, obviously it must be Saudi, but where else are you seeing?
For instance, this year, Saudi Arabia has always contributed to most of our signings in the region. 70% of the pipeline in the region is in Saudi Arabia. We've got 30 hotels in operation and 20 under development. Hotels, resorts, and service apartments in Saudi Arabia. This year, we've been quite active in Saudi Arabia with many conversion signings, with new openings and new announcements to come out really soon. We're hoping to make a big announcement at FHS, hopefully. But for instance, last year, I had spent a lot of time in Pakistan and Greece as two other examples of big markets. And so I've seen a lot of activity in Greece. We've been one of the most active hotel groups in Greece in the past couple of years, and we've signed some flagship properties in the country, in Cyprus as well. In Pakistan, we've had a record year in Pakistan as well last year with 4 signings. We expect to open our first property there in Islamabad next year, before the end of next year, in 12 months. And so these are sort of the main markets that we look at. With the UAE slowing down, I still believe UAE has some potential with some strategic opportunities. But the beauty about the growth of Saudi Arabia and the Middle East region is that it has given rise to the markets around the kingdom. So you have Abu Dhabi relaunching its tourism strategy with new master developments. You have Jordan redefining its tourism strategy. Flying to Jordan next week for a flagship deal of 2 properties, which will be announced soon. It'll be announced next week, which is very rare for a market in Jordan with a consortium of banks. So it's a very, very high-profile signing. We're looking at some activity in Oman. So the rise of Saudi Arabia in recent years has helped and encouraged, and all the many different countries in the area, including Qatar, to become more aggressive in their tourism strategies, to become more creative, and to create a destination for the Middle East, and not just one market or the other.
Elie, what is the reason for the other regional countries to be upping their game like this?
They've realized that they need to upgrade their competitive level, their competitiveness, their competitive advantage. For instance, Jordan is a good example. Jordan has always been a country for leisure tourism and some business tourism. But Jordan didn't need to do much to promote that because it was already known. Having Saudi Arabia next door, launching very aggressive and very ambitious tourism targets and economic targets, made Jordan realize, for instance, they cannot just depend on what they have. They need to become more, they need to stimulate more investment. They need to attract more visitors. They need to be more proactive. Otherwise, they will lose ground to other markets. Having said that, the idea is not to lose ground, and the idea is not to lose market share. It's to make the entire Middle East region competitive enough and appealing enough for all consumers and investors to come to this region, and not just to one market forgetting the others. So it's spreading the wealth. The beauty of it is that it's spreading the wealth across the region.
Elie, what type of investors and developers are you typically working with? And are there any new investors that you're seeing coming to the market?
In the region, for instance, Saudi Arabia, it's 99% local investors. It's whether it's royal offices, it's the PIF, it's different subsidiaries of the PIF, it's development companies, it's individual investors. So the spread in Saudi Arabia remains the same. It's a bit similar in. So most of the investors in Saudi Arabia would be Saudi and GCC investors. However, we have a different mix in the UAE with more Indian and Pakistani investors, in addition to Saudi and Emirati investors. We've got Kuwaiti investors in Kuwait. We've got, I think, a new type of owners now with the signing of the deal in Jordan, in Amman next week, is with a consortium of banks that have created the company, collecting non-performing assets and repositioning them to relaunch them in the market. And this is one example that we're doing. So in some markets, the investor base remains the same. However, in Saudi Arabia, for instance, the government is trying to bring foreign investment. And by doing that, I had a call with the Ministry of Tourism a few days ago, earlier this week, yesterday actually. And they have all these tax incentives and different incentives to attract more investors. And I think this needs to be marketed well. It is going to attract investors, and with time, we will start seeing some more foreign investment in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's really interesting. They did present it at the FHS Saudi, the tax incentives.
They did.
They had that special reception. So, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. So tell us about the overall, your vision, your goals. I know there are 150 hotels, 30,000 keys by 2030. Whereabouts are you at the moment? And again,
there's around 100 properties.
Right.
Yeah, 100 properties. And we hope to reach the 150 in 7 years, in 6 years. The plan is we're expanding the team. We've already hired more people in the team. The plan is to hire one or two more. We've always been a very lean team here in the Middle East, but to achieve those targets, we're expanding. We're looking at different ways to doing more hotels. We're trying to proactively source leads and not just wait for them to arrive. We are looking at property developments conversion opportunities that will open sooner rather than later, that will that have a lower risk of them being delayed or cancelled. We are trying to connect different investors. For instance, I've introduced a couple of investors from Europe and Saudi Arabia to be able to connect them with some of our investors in Saudi Arabia with a land bank in order to get more leads and to improve our chances of signing more. I've been able to connect some of our individual investors with bigger entities such as the PIF to be able to get more chances of signing more deals. We've been looking at strategic deals with various key investors to roll out our Prize Hotel budget brand, to roll out a portfolio of hotels. So there's no way we're going to hit the 150 keys unless we think differently on how to do business. We cannot just sit and wait for one to sign one deal or another. We have to go out of our way to think of more strategic deals, connecting investors, portfolio deals, country development agreements, other strategic agreements in order to reach that number.
The 150 hotels. You mentioned about conversions, so tell us a little bit about the conversions and typically what sort of properties are those that you're converting at the moment?
We're looking at properties that are projects that are under construction, that require minimum investment or an FF&E investment that we could add value to. The recent Radisson in Medina, we're entering Medina for the first time in 10, 12 years, is opening in the next 3 to 4 months, 165 keys. We came in late under construction with an existing owner, and we found a way to help design the hotel and to get it open within a few months. We've recently, historically, for 20 years or so, we've I would confidently say that more than 50% of our signings and openings have been conversions, and these have been taking over properties from different brands, taking over properties that are unbranded, signing properties that were residential buildings or office buildings that we were able to convert into hotels, signing properties, projects that are under construction, quite advanced, and having them branded under one of our brands. So this pragmatic approach of ours has always been there and has made our conversion strategy more appealing to the investor. It makes more sense to the investor, and this is how we've been able to secure more of our openings and how we've been able to secure more hotels in the market. Recently, but this year, for instance, we've already signed, in addition to the Radisson Medina, we've signed 2 more properties that are opening within the next 6 months. 2 in Riyadh and 1 in Medina. And some of them have been announced. Others will be announced later this year. So it's a live. We have live examples, and we're able to execute that strategy on the ground. It's not just up in the air.
And then the majority of these conversions are hospitality projects as opposed to offices or
hotels
residential.
And service apartments. Yes, hotels and service apartments and resorts. So when we say service apartments, is a big portion, maybe 40% or so of our properties in the Middle East region comprise a service apartments component, whether it's standalone or part of the hotel component. So it is mostly hotels and service apartments, and we're doing more and more resorts as well.
But these conversions of existing buildings, are you seeing a growth in, say, office buildings that need to be converted, or resi buildings that are being converted?
In some markets, especially in recent years since COVID, when hospitality picked up and office space did not. For instance, in some markets, many office buildings have are being converted into hotels and service apartments and residences. We don't see that in the Middle East that much because the Middle East is still an emerging market. We see it more in mature markets, such as Greece and other markets around the world, such as New York and London and others. For instance, in Greece, we've signed a couple of interesting opportunities. One was a cottage building in the form of theater, the other as an office building. Those 2 have been converted into a Radisson, the other into a Radisson RED lifestyle hotel in the heart of the city. In the Middle East, we're seeing fewer of these opportunities because it's still an emerging market. But we see more conversion opportunities in the UAE, advanced conversion opportunities in the UAE, than in Saudi Arabia, because there are more new build opportunities in Saudi Arabia. One of our properties here in Dubai, for instance, the Radisson Blue Dubai Marina, was initially a residential building, which we were able to convert into service apartments around 15 years ago. So yes, we continue to see more of it. And I think as long as the hospitality industry remains strong and resilient, we will see pockets of that opportunity, more and more opportunities of converting old buildings, especially in mature markets, into hospitality products.
Interesting. Tell us a little bit about the lifestyle brands that you have in your group, the Radisson Collection, the Radisson RED, Art'otel. Are you seeing that as a growth market for you?
Radisson RED, there's a great opportunity for Radisson RED in the market. We've got the Radisson RED Silicon Oasis in Dubai with the government of Dubai, Silicon Oasis Authority. We've got we've signed a Radisson RED with DGDA, the RIA Gate. That's a really important signing with PIF. Expected to open in 2028, around 200 keys. It's an upscale 4-star, and I think the market, and we're looking at other opportunities for Radisson RED in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia mostly, and we are signing one in Amman next week as well, in Jordan. We've signed in Athens. So the thing with lifestyle brands is that there is a big opportunity for lifestyle brands, but we're very selective where to place them. It would be in certain locations, cultural locations, hip and trendy locations, lively locations. So we're very picky. Even if it's a 4-star product, we wouldn't place a Radisson RED in location unless it makes sense. In DGDA in Saudi Arabia, it makes beautiful sense because it's a cultural location with a blend of heritage, culture, and modernity, giving it a beautiful feel and vibe. Now that's the 4-star positioning. Now we've got Art'otel is even more selective because it would need to be in a very high-end location, not really a beach destination as yet, but it needs to be in an urban location, artsy location, in a financial center, in an art district. That's Art'otel. So it's an upper upscale lifestyle brand. We have also Prize Hotel or Prize by Radisson, which is our budget mid-scale, our budget lifestyle brand. With Prize Hotel, we have a different strategy. We believe we will not sign the first Prize Hotel in the region with one hotel in Dubai, let's say, or one hotel in Riyadh. We will only roll out Prize Hotel as part of a portfolio or strategic agreement with a key owner to make financial sense. Prize Hotel being a budget brand, and to be able to operate Prize Hotel with a 50% GOP margin, we're trying to create a country development agreement or a market development agreement or a master development agreement, whether it's a franchise or management contract, with a key investor with a land bank to roll out, let's say, 10 to 20 Prize Hotels across urban locations in Saudi Arabia, 5 to 10 Prize Hotels across urban locations in the UAE. I've recently signed a master development agreement to roll out around 10 Prize Hotels across urban locations in Greece. This will be announced soon. And so this is the way we're approaching Prize Hotel as a budget brand. But yeah, in short, it is lifestyle is trendy, but we're very selective. We have to be very careful because the definition has been overused over the past couple of years, and I wouldn't want it to lose significance like the word luxury has lost significance. We need to define it better and to be more selective and careful how we develop it.
Are you typically managing the lifestyle brands?
In most cases, yes. We are currently 85% of our portfolio in the Middle East region under management agreements. We are, most of our lifestyle brands will be managed. We are open to franchising, but mostly for Prize Hotel. We're a bit more selective when it comes to Radisson RED and Art'otel.
So just to explain the personality of an Art'otel versus the Radisson RED.
So in simple terms, Radisson RED is upscale, Art'otel is upper upscale. Radisson RED is 4-star, Art'otel is 5-star. Radisson RED is more compact, 24, 26 square meter standard rooms. Art'otel is 32 plus square meter standard rooms. Radisson RED has meetings and events space, is trendy, has activation programs similar to what Art'otel will have, but Art'otel will have a gallery, which is what we call an art multi-purpose hall or conference space, and is more. It takes all these activation programs and activities to a different level. Radisson RED is about compact lifestyle. Art'otel is about art and lifestyle. Art'otel with other lifestyle brands, they tend to change with time. They tend to lose value or change values with time. With Art'otel, the art collection in a hotel is expected to gain in value. So part of the FF&E of Art'otel would actually gain value rather than having it replaced after 7 years or 6 years. What's very key, what's very different, unlike any other brand in the market, is that Art'otel is being developed in collaboration with a signature artist. It can either be done as a collaboration with an artist and the artwork in the hotel, or as an artist that gets involved in the interior design of the hotel. Those are two different approaches that we have. Having said that, Art'otel is not just about art. It's about lifestyle. It's about fashion, gastronomy, enology, wellness. Did I say fashion? Music, culture, art, exhibitions. It's a 360-degree coverage of any form of lifestyle, covering pop-up dinners, book launches, and it tries to touch on every aspect of lifestyle, arts and culture, heritage, and not just on art. So that's the beauty of Art'otel that you will not find anywhere else.
And that captures the growing experiential economy as well, and providing those experiences to clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where I haven't seen your art hotel yet. I've seen them in Europe, but not in
London. We've got two amazing properties in London.
Yeah.
Next time you're in town, I could arrange visits. Elie would be happy to show you around if he's in town. We've got one in Amsterdam. We've got one opening in Rome in a couple of months. Beautiful location. We've got one in Zagreb. And another thing is, I've been with a colleague of mine appointed to roll out Art'otel not only in the Middle East but globally, because we have the development rights to roll out Art'otel in Eastern Europe and Middle East, Africa, and Asia. And I've been appointed to co-lead that growth internationally. And so hopefully we'll have more announcements soon in developing that brand. But next time you're in London, let me know. We have two very, very distinct, different and beautiful properties recently opened.
Well, Elie, I can't wait to stay at one of your art hotels. And but moving on, I'd like to learn more about some of the challenges and some of the key challenges when you're speaking to investors.
Sometimes brand awareness. When I joined in 2010, joined Radisson in 2010, we had a lot of work to do on brand awareness and brand equity. So we've had to change that. We've had to improve that. I have to say we've come a long way. So when we enter, this was a general theme, when we enter certain markets where we have old hotels or no hotels, we tend to face the fact that some of the local developers don't know much about Radisson. So that's something that we have to change. So that's one of the challenges that we're trying to overcome. For instance, in launching, when it comes to our core brands such as Radisson, Radisson Group, it's less of a challenge to develop them because they're very well-known, solid brands. Radisson has been the fastest growing brand in the last 3 years across the industry, across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, across all brands, because of its core brand name, value proposition. It's quite successful with investors and with conversion opportunities. But when we come with Art'otel, for instance, the challenge is explaining to investors what it is, because it's selective, because it's does it make sense? Is it real estate? Is it financially viable? Is it feasible? Is it a good investment? So we try to change the perception and try to sell the investment proposition to investors. That's one of the things that we face. One of the big challenges. In some other markets, we tend to face investors tend to face higher hurdles for entry, higher barriers of entry, such as land cost, conversion cost, development cost. And what we try to do in that case is to try to find a conversion solution that is not as costly for the owner. Try to find the right brand that will increase the returns for the investor. And recently, to be fair, I think I have to say that this is specific for the Middle East region, that the Middle East region has become, or has been for a long time, despite the scale of opportunities in the market, remains the most competitive development market in the region for us hotel groups, hotel developers. So even though there are opportunities for all players, the competitiveness has driven fees down, has driven percentages down. So our commercial terms have had to be readjusted. Similar deals in Europe, Africa, and parts of Asia are still less competitive than the Middle East, where commercial terms are still healthier for us than they are in the Middle East. So that's another challenge, competition. It's healthy, but it has adjusted the market, has adjusted our expectations when it comes to the commercial terms.
What about finance in the Middle East?
Funding in the Middle East has been less of an issue than in Europe because of the strong self-sustainable economies of the UAE and Saudi Arabia, for instance, that drive the region. We have had a couple of situations where investors, for instance, one in Dubai, have decided to just delay their investment in one of our projects because of the high interest rates. We haven't seen that in Saudi Arabia because there are different funds in Saudi Arabia, government sponsored, different tax incentives and the other incentives for investors. So financing is less the case here, especially also because of the strong real estate markets in the region. You get a lot of foreign capital coming in from Eastern Europe, from Africa, from India, from Pakistan, from other parts of the Middle East. These have kept the markets of the UAE and KSA afloat and busy. That's what we have. That's what we're seeing.
Okay. I would have thought one of your other challenges, but it's the other side of Radisson is more on the operational side, is you're bringing in the deals, but then they need to, open and operate these hotels and find the right staff to do so.
Yes. I wanted to, as a fourth point, it's personnel. You're right. I see that more in markets like Greece than for the Middle East. Now it depends what you compare it to. Greece is seeing a major issue in personnel. They're not finding the right caliber. They're not finding too many people wanting to work in the industry, and the only way they're retaining staff is by paying more. So it's a bigger issue in Greece with all our hotels and with other hotels. I experienced this. I was in Greece this summer, and when I spoke to many of the owners and investors, it's a similar story. Now in the Middle East, we are still able to staff hotels, and we're able to train and have good quality service in the UAE, for instance, and in other markets. But in Saudi Arabia and in Oman, for instance, because of the Saudization and Omanization rates to promote local talents, operational costs have gone up. So we're facing a different issue, which is not an issue, a different market adjustment with complying with nationalization rates, Saudization and Omanization rates. So when in Saudi Arabia 10, 15 years ago, we used to achieve GOP levels of 50 to 60%, these have gone down to 35 to 45% today because of the higher energy costs, higher payroll, changing market dynamics, turnover, Saudization. And so we're facing that kind of challenge of shrinking GOP margins. How are we dealing with that? We're becoming more lean and efficient in managing hotels. We're becoming, whenever we have two small properties, we're clustering. We're under one general manager, one director of finance, one director of HR, especially if you have the same owner. If you have different owners, we're still finding a way to at least cluster one or two positions to help to help improve the bottom line. On average, we can easily increase the GOP margin from 3 to 5%, 5 to 6% when we do clustering exercises for our owners. So yes, personnel and staffing will always be a challenge because this is a people industry. So we want to make sure we get the right people. We want to make sure, our CEO always says our mission is to be one of the best 3 companies to partner with, stay at, and work with. So it's an ongoing exercise.
For sure, yeah, it's an interesting dilemma. What's happening in Europe, and then what's happening in the Middle East in terms of the staffing challenges that we have. Actually, we're going to be launching the Educational Investment Forum alongside FHS Saudi next year, so we're getting a lot of support for that as well. So we think that's a good idea. Speaking about FHS Saudi, you hosted a reception at the Radisson Collection. This year was a fantastic event. You really, the way you always showcase your properties when you have a reception is fantastic, and I congratulate you for that. But what was your view on FHS Saudi?
It's going from strength to strength. What I love about it is that we see a lot of investors, keen investors, individuals, and companies and entities being present. It keeps growing. It's exciting because what makes this region very, very exciting is all the positive news around strategies, announcements, signings, openings, and I think Saudi's at the forefront of that. I think if Saudi Arabia wants to go from around 200,000 keys today to let's say 600 or 700,000 keys in the next until 2030, let's say, I think FHS will continue to remain valid and appealing to both investors, developers, operators, etc. I think I've had some fantastic meetings at the event. It's an opportunity to showcase some of our properties with our reception this year and last year. We've got a beautiful portfolio in Riyadh. I believe it's the best portfolio we have in the region. That's in Riyadh, and I think it gives us pride to be able to showcase some of our hotels during those events. And for me, I'm very hopeful about Saudi Arabia. I believe in the ambition and the vision that the leaders have for the country. And what makes me very, very proud, Jonathan, is that we didn't wait for the execution of Vision 2030. We didn't wait for a new start. We were there since 2010, launching our development and expansion strategy for Saudi Arabia long before any of these plans were put in place. And so we started expanding across the country across Riyadh and Jeddah into secondary cities since 2010, 2011, 2012, long before this strategy was put in place and the execution efforts had been put in place. So we did not just ride the wave, we were part of the wave, we had led the wave. And I think looking back, if there's anything to be proud of, this is one of the best things I think we have done right as well. So I'm looking forward to next year as well.
You've always done that as well. You've always done that. You've always been the first mover, haven't you? I mean, you look at Africa, you were there long before the other brands.
As well, yeah. Eastern Europe, Africa, correct.
And so we've got you on a panel actually on lifestyle brands at FHS World in Dubai, the Madinat Jumeirah, from the 30th of September 2nd to October. So it's great to have you on board. With that, we've got Elie Yunus, your Executive Vice President, Head of Global Development for Radisson as well. He's going to be joining with some investors on a panel. And we didn't really get to speak about sustainability, et cetera, but we've got one of the industry's leads when it comes to initiatives with Inga Hubrooks, your Chief Sustainability Officer, also speaking and joining us, which is great.
We've always been part of FHS, and I'm from the very beginning, and I think this is my 12th or 13th FHS.
Well,
I think I've attended each and every one of them.
you certainly deserve a loyalty pin for that. So.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your support. It's very much appreciated, and
thank you.
Delighted to have you on this podcast. Look forward to seeing you very soon around the corner in Dubai for FHS World.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thanks, Elie.